Hey guys, I'm Caleb Giddings with Taurus USA, and I'm here with Dave from FTW Ranch, and we're talking about selecting ammo for your Taurus Expedition in 308. And this is important to me because I like this gun, I like shooting this gun, but you could take what I know about rifle bullets and pour it into a thimble, and you would have plenty of room left over. All I know is I shot an axis deer with this S&B blue round, and it crushed it, but I don't really understand anything of the why. So let's talk through this bullet and some of the other projectiles we've got here on the table.
It's an important topic. When we show up for the first time, people were here at FTW Ranch, and well, we do the classroom cleaning, come down to the lodge range, and get ready to start sighting in guns. What type of bullet that they're going to shoot is absolutely important. And what's their end state? Are they just going to be out here with us shooting steel, not hunting? Or is this going to be a rifle that I'm using for a hunting application? And if so, I want to choose a bullet that's going to give me good results, just like you got when you fired that bullet at your axis deer. If you have a bullet that is just a match bullet, then maybe not a lot of the emphasis was put on what terminal performance would be.
Sure.
So we could go through all of these, check them out, and see what we think. Tell me about that bullet.
So from what I understand, this is a solid copper projectile, but it has a polymer tip in it. What does that do for the round?
Right, so that's going to help with the expansion of that bullet. And the other good thing about the solid copper bullet, a lot of states, I guess some states now are going towards the lead-free stuff. Right, so that might be a consideration for somebody choosing ammunition. In this case, what I've seen either with this round or even with the Barnes rounds, they're a monolithic bullet, solid copper. This one is tipped as well, and they'll come tipped and untipped. The tip will help with expansion. Typically, you'll see the BC is a little higher on those tipped rounds as well.
Before you keep going, what's a BC?
So your ballistic coefficient.
Okay.
And, it means different things, but one of the main thing it means for me out here and shooting in the wind, it's typically a pretty windy environment out here, is the higher the BC is on that bullet, the less wind deflection I'm going to get. Now there's other things that go into it as well, but that's one of the main considerations. So if I have a round that I need to hold 5 minutes for a shot and another round in the same conditions, maybe I only have to hold 1 or 2 minutes, then that's a lot easier for me.
Right.
In whether it's target shooting or hunting. So, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
So we've talked about the solid copper projectiles. You know, they've got good expansion, generally pretty good flight characteristics, would you say?
Yes, I would say the terminal performance is outstanding.
Okay.
You have a lot of weight retention once the bullets hit the animal. It has very consistent results. If it hits just flesh, just muscle, or if it hits bone, you get consistent results across the board.
When I saw that,
I
saw that in the deer that I shot, there was a hole in the spinal column that I could put 3 of my fingers all the way through from a bullet that's, you know, starts life this narrow.
They hit, they tumble, they do what they're supposed to do. In that case, we had an exit wound. In some of the other cases, I can just feel the skin on the other side of the animal, and I'll feel that projectile right there. I'll take it out, I'll look at it, I'll examine it. You see the back of the box as well. And that is very typical of what I'll pull out of an animal once it's been shot.
Just a nice, pretty expanded round.
Right. And I've done that with 70 grain bullets, 150 grain bullets, 250 grain bullets of the same types, and with very similar results. So
now, speaking of 150 grain bullets, so we have here a 150 grain American whitetail round. Now, I popped this out of the box, and it looks like a soft point round, right? And that's what people have been hunting with 308 soft points pretty much since we had 308s.
Sure. So so it's a jacketed round.
Right.
We've got a lead core, jacketed outside, and that jacket is in some manner bonded to the lead core.
Okay.
I want that projectile to hit the animal, stay together as much as possible, and do as much damage as possible so that I get the results that I'm looking for. And if we looked at just the difference in the first one with the monolithic bullet, you can see the lead in that one.
Right.
You get mushrooms.
And it smashes down.
Right, and then it's still going to tumble and still going to cause that temporary and that permanent cavity and get the results that you're looking for. But it is in a manner, whether it's an A-frame bullet or an AccuBond bullet, it's been bonded to the lead core in some manner, either mechanically or chemically. But the results, the goal is the same. I want it to hold together and give me that terminal performance. So, but you might not have, if you're not going with a hunting bullet, I don't really care. I'm just going to shoot a piece of paper. or I'm going to shoot a piece of steel. I don't really care what happens when it hits the target. So, for example, like on this bullet, we were talking about it a little bit earlier.
Right. So that's
loaded with a Sierra Match King.
Right, and that's like match ammo, right? So
Right.
I want to shoot a really tiny group, or I want to shoot something really far away.
And it says it right there on the box, precision, right? And it is. It's a very accurate round, performs excellent. The BC is higher. It's got a good BC on the bullet.
So on BC, and this is something that I know I can go on the internet and I can look up the BC for this round and look up the BC for all of these rounds. Explain to me the relationship between like a higher BC and flight characteristics, a lower BC. Like how does that, again, for someone who's not a rifle shooter, is a higher BC better for flight characteristics?
It is. And some of these bullets will be written on the box. I can give you a couple of numbers pretty easily. The Sierra Match King bullet that this cartridge has been loaded with, the G1 is a .495.
What's a G1?
All right, so you have a G1 and a G7.
Okay.
It's the two of the main models that people will use. A G1 is going to be, think of a round nose bullet with a flat base.
Okay.
That's the profile.
Got it.
A G7 would be a bullet that has more of a pointed shape to it and a boat tail in the back.
Okay.
Now think about those two projectiles flying down range and which one would be more efficient flying through the air.
Sure.
Something shaped probably like the G7 model, pointed
Right.
with the boat tail, right? But we can model these bullets using either one. For example, on this Hornady box, they'll give you both. They're going to give you both numbers on the back of the box. A G1
Okay.
and a G7. Not all of them do that, but it just happens that this one has it on there. 2 units of measure though.
Okay.
Miles per hour, kilometers per hour. So
Okay.
I mean, you see there's obviously 2 numbers. I think that's important for people to understand because they might be comparing apples to apples, but they might also be comparing apples to oranges. They look at one box and they're like, okay, the G1 is this, and it looks to me to be a high number. They look at another box, but they read the G7. The
And
G7
that's a much lower number.
It's always going to be lower than the G1.
Okay.
So if you are doing bullet comparison, compare apples to apples.
Make sure
A
I'm looking
G1
at
to
the
a
G1 versus the
G7 to
G1.
G7,
That
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, cool.
Now with that, since we're already down that road, if I was going to build, we built range cards, right? If I'm going to build a range card and I want it to be as accurate as possible, I'm going to use the model that a G1. If your bullet is shaped like it's pointed in the front, boat tail in the back, well, that's a G7, right? And
Right.
that's what's in your box. Then we can use that profile.
I think what I want to talk about now and what we can kind of move to is picking one of these for my rifle. So, there's a famous quote by Townsend Wheeland who said, only accurate rifles are interesting, right?
Okay.
Which is, I think that's 100% true. I feel like that's mostly true about guns in general, is accurate guns are interesting. But I've also been told, and I found just in my shooting with this gun, that it's not going to shoot every round the same, right? So I could have 4 different 150 grain bullets from 4 different manufacturers, and it's going to shoot different group sizes as well, 4 of them, right?
Yep.
So if I'm picking my gun, and let's say my mission for this is a hunt. I want to go on another Axis deer hunt because I had a blast doing it the last time. So how do I go through and I select for my bullets?
Sure. So we know it's going to be hunting. That's going to be application. So I'm going to go and I'm going to pick 2 or 3, 4 hunting style bullets for that rifle.
Okay.
You could pick some match bullets or whatever, and then maybe your gun shoots perfect with it.
Right.
But that's not your application. So I picked 1, 2, 3 hunting bullets. I'm going to take it out to the line, and you could have the best hunting bullet in the world, but if your gun doesn't shoot it well, then who cares? It doesn't make any difference. So do your own testing. Grab you 2 or 3 boxes of good quality hunting ammunition. Shoot some groups. See which one groups the best, and then go with that bullet and stick with it. Now let's say you go out there though, and you've selected 3, and 2 out of the 3 are very similar. The gun shoots it well. Well, what else can I consider? That's when I'd bring in the BC. I was like, well, the group sizes are the same on both of these. They're both good hunting bullets, but this one has a slightly higher BC. All right, I'll take that one. There could be other considerations though, but maybe availability is really hard to get that one, but it's easier to get this one.
We all remember price. COVID when you couldn't get, when you were like, well, I guess this is what I'm shooting.
So of course, there's a lot of other considerations.
Awesome.
Like maybe even price is a consideration. This is a $200 a box, and this is $50 a box. They shoot about the same, like whatever. But that's what I'm looking for. My gun has to shoot it well. It needs to be a good hunting bullet. My gun has to shoot it well. And if I'm just stuck between 2, I might go with the one with the higher BC.
So ultimately, when you're selecting ammo for your Taurus Expedition rifle, the most important thing is that you select a round that is appropriate for what you're using the gun for, whether that's hunting or precision shooting. And then you need to pick the round that your rifle shoots the most accurately.